Hello everyone, welcome to this video. My name is Joe and I'm an independent cloud consultant based in Sydney, Australia. This is a video series which will help you prepare for your Azure AI Engineer Associate certification. We will go through questions very similar to the exam and discuss in detail each and every options provided. Before we dive into the question, I would highly recommend a basic understanding of Azure AI services to understand what we are going to discuss. Now regarding me, I just watched one training to prepare for the exam, and with the help of that training, I passed the exam in the very first attempt. Although you can follow any trainings, I would highly recommend this one. I'll provide the link of the above said training in the description box. So let's get into the video. The format of the question is a requirement is given and what all steps will you follow to achieve that requirement. There will be multiple steps provided and you have to select the correct ones in the proper order. Now let us get into the question. You have a custom vision service project that uses the general domain for classification and contains a trained model. You need to export the model for use on a network that is disconnected from the internet. Which three actions should you perform in sequence? Now the options are optimize model for edge deployment, retrain the model, export the model, change the classification type, create a new classification model, change domains to general compact. Now let us break down the question. What are the keywords? So it is regarding the custom vision service and the project type is classification. So you have a custom vision classification model and the model is already trained model and the domain in which the model is trained is general domain. Now we need to export this model for use on a network that is disconnected from the internet. So we have to export the custom vision classification model with general domain to work offline. That is what the need is. Which three actions should you perform in the correct order to achieve this requirement? So let us go through the documentation. The first step is to understand what is a custom vision model. So it is a model which is used for image recognition and it is a custom model. You have to train the model with your own images. That is why it is called as custom vision and it has two functionalities and one is image classification and the other is object detection. So here in the question they have already told the model is an image classification model. So there is no confusion between which model we have to choose. It is the image classification feature of custom vision which is there in the question. And the need is to export the model to work offline. So what all are the steps we have to follow to export the model to work in an environment where there is no internet connectivity? So if we go through this documentation, it is about exporting your model to use with mobile devices. Azure AI Custom Vision service lets you export your classifiers to run offline. You can embed your exported classifier into an application and run it locally on a device for real-time classification. So by following these steps, you can run your model offline. And also note the point that this will run on both Android and iOS devices. These steps can be followed to run the model on Android and iOS devices. So what are the steps to follow? So first we have to convert to a compact domain. So what is a compact domain? First of all, what is a domain? So once we are creating a project, it will ask which domain you have to create the project. So these are the domains present. So according to your need, you can select whichever domain you want to train the model in. So that is what is domain is about. Now what is general compact domain? So you can see here, custom vision service only exports projects with compact domains. Note this sentence, custom vision service only exports projects with compact domains. The models generated by compact domains are optimized for the constraints of real-time classification on mobile devices. So if we have to export our model, we have to create the model in compact domain. Now what are the steps to follow to export an already existing model to offline? So the first step is to convert to a compact domain. So in the question, it is clearly stated that the model is trained on general domain. Now we have to convert that model to compact domain. That is the first step. Now you have to select your project, and in the domain section, select one of the compact domain and save changes. From the top of the page, select train to retrain using the new domain. So the old domain was a general domain. Now you have to retrain using the new domain. After that, you have to export your model. Go to the performance tab and select export. Select your desired export format and then select export to download the model. So the steps are: convert to a compact domain. After that, you have to retrain using the new domain, and after that you have to export your model. Now let us get back into the question. So which are steps you need to follow to export the custom vision classifier model to use on a network that is disconnected from the internet? Which 3 actions should you perform? So the first one is optimize model for edge deployment. So did we see that step in the documentation? No, we didn't come across such a step. Now retrain the model. Yes, we did see the sentence retrain the model. Now, yes, we saw export the model as well. Now, did we see change the classification type? No, we didn't see that option. Now, create a new classification model. Did we come across that in the documentation? No. And there is no need of creating a new classification model. We just have to change the domain type and retrain the model. Don't need to create a new model for the requirement. Now, change domain to general compact. Did we see that step in the documentation? Yes, indeed we saw that step. So what are the 3 actions to perform in sequence to achieve the requirement? One is to change the domain to general compact. That is the first step. Then we have to retrain the model under the new domain. After that, we have to export the model. So these are the steps which we have to follow to use the model where there is intermittent or disconnected network. Now the next question is a very similar one. The question is, you have trained an Azure Custom Vision model to classify clothing products using the retail domain. To integrate this model into your iOS app, what steps should you perform in sequence? The options are: adjust the model to use a different domain, train the model again after changing the domain, export the model for deployment, delete the training data, test the model. So it is a very similar scenario, but the thing is, you have to use the model in your iOS app. So which steps you have to follow? Now going back to the documentation, here we saw that the steps to follow to export your model to use in mobile devices. You can, by following this step, you can run the model in Android or iOS, and it is the same documentation and you have to follow the same steps. First you have to convert to a compact domain, then you have to retrain using the new domain, and then you have to export your model. So going back to the question, how do you integrate your model into your iOS app? So the steps to follow are: first, you need to adjust the model to use a different domain. In this case, it will be retail compact domain. Now the second step is to train the model again after changing the domain, and the third and final step is export the model for deployment. So both are similar kind of questions. Now what did we learn from this video? How to run a custom vision model on an edge device with limited internet connectivity, or how to integrate your custom vision model into your iOS or Android app.